Hello class, this is Sam Hine with what is hopefully my last project for EDUC 590. I did my district profile on Moorpark Unified School District. Let's go. Moorpark Unified is comprised of 13 schools. It is in Ventura County. You can see Moorpark right there. It has schools of every level from preschool. They have stuff set up at the junior high, or excuse me, at the junior college through Moorpark Unified. There are the 13 schools, preschool, elementary, middle school, high school, the whole shebang. Enrollment, it is a small district. There's about 6,500 students. I compared this to the William S. Hart District, which is where I work. It has 26,000 plus students. And then you can even look at LA Unified, which has 600,000 plus students. But yeah, it's a small district. It has one high school in it. I'm used to looking at bigger districts than that. You can see the breakdown of what students are in what there. Moorpark Unified, the demographics, it is predominantly Hispanic, Latino, and white, 46% Hispanic, 42% white. All the other ethnicities are very poorly represented. There aren't many of them. For the teachers, you can see the demographics here. There's 295 teachers in the district, and I will talk later about how the demographics of the teachers do not match the demographics of the student populations as much as you would hope it would. Students that receive free or reduced lunch prices, it's about a quarter of the population. About 10% of the population are English language learners. And we will talk about this class size difference in a bit, but you'll see here the school numbers is 4 higher than the state, 2 higher than the district, and 3 higher than the county. So here is way more academic information than you would ever want. We have graduation rates, which are very good. They are 11% almost above the state level. The school is really good. It's even better than the district and the county. You have SAT scores. These are good. ACT scores. These are very good. AP scores. These are okay. And let's put them in some context. So comparing them to William S. Hart District, graduation rates very similar. SAT scores, Moorpark is a little better. I have the Hart scores here and then the Moorpark scores here. Hart scores are a little better across the board. Hart scores are a little better across the AP tests. And then Hart is a little better across the board with AP. You'll notice, especially at the bottom there, for the 5s on the AP test, Hart has twice the amount of people scoring 5s as Moorpark Unified does. And then compared to LA Unified, Moorpark beats them up. There are your graduation rates. There are your SAT scores, ACT scores. I noticed, though, that still, for whatever reason, Moorpark doesn't have the kids who are like above and beyond. You'll see at the bottom that LA Unified has more kids scoring 5, a higher percentage of kids doing that, even though they have a 20% higher graduation rate and much better SAT and ACT scores. I found that odd. And then I have CASP tests in addition to those test scores. So this is the 5th grade, 8th grade, and 11th grade reports, and I have the year 2015 and the year 2016 here. You will see that standards not met. So we have 5th grade, 8th grade, and 11th. They get a little better from 2015 to 2016. If you guys want to pause and look at this, feel free. I'm on a time constraint, so I'm going to keep moving. So here's compared to the Hart District. You have the Hart District scores here, and then compared to the Moorpark District scores here. I'm most interested in the met and exceeded, so you want these numbers to be as high as possible. So you have Moorpark is at 63%, and you have Hart at 65%, so it was better in 8th grade in 2015. And then Hart got up to 66% here, and Moorpark is stuck at 59%. So Moorpark is getting beat in the CASP scores a little bit. Okay, then moving on, I looked at the Local Control and Accountability Plan, which is known as the LCAP. You guys all looked at these for yourselves, so you should be pretty familiar with these. I like how they broke it down into their 8 priority areas. So they have necessities like credentialed teachers, the materials being aligned to state standards and available to students, safe facilities. They have all the different necessities, priority areas there for you. We'll talk about school climate in a bit, but they're looking at suspensions and expulsions and sort of the overall safety of the campus as a priority area, which we will talk about. Finances. I enjoyed this. I found this local control funding formula, and I was able to get 3 years worth of finances. So I got 2014-15, 15-16, and 16-17. And you'll see that these numbers change a lot. So in 2014-15, there was this target number, which is however they do, they decide this is how much money we need. This is how much money they actually got. This was their actual funding. And if you subtract the 1 from the 1, you get a remaining need. So in 2014, 2015, whatever they wanted for money, they wound up almost $10 million short of that. All that info was available. What I did from there is I found their enrollment numbers for the year. And if you divide the 9.6 million by the 6,460 students, I came up with this number, which was the remaining need per student. So I basically figured that the school was underfunded by about $1,500 per student. That is really bad. Luckily, it gets better. In 2015, 2016, their target numbers were about the same, but the actual numbers went from 46 million to 51 million. So the remaining need was around 5 million, about the same number of students. So this number was about cut in half. We were now running a remaining need per student of $747. And then in 2016-17, it got even better. So this actual number kept creeping up. And the target number actually went down by $1 million. So the deficit was 2 billion divided by this many students. So we went from about 1,500 remaining need per student in 14-15 to in 16-17 down to 328. Still not good. You don't want to be underfunded, but that's better than it had been. And here is my attempt to keep on putting these numbers in context for you. You'll see that the William S. Hart District is a little better in each category, 14-13, 7-6, 3-2, and then the LAUSD is way worse. So they were running a $2,000, they were in the red a couple years ago, and that's gotten better to 427 at this point. One thing I really enjoyed that I found was this staff survey. So these were the teachers who were all given this survey. This thing started with No Child Left Behind, actually, but they said that they beefed up the survey because they found they could get a bunch of data off of it. So this is teachers, administrators, and other school staff who answered this. It came with this disclaimer that they can't totally vouch for like the sample, but they have the data, so let's check it out. I'll tell you before I dive into this, for the most part, any questions relating to the students, are the students set up to succeed? Do they have materials? Do the teachers feel that every student has potential? Those answers were really positive. Then the answers about the staff themselves. Do we feel responsibility to improve schools? Do we support and treat each other well? Do we promote trust and collegiality? Do we participate in decision making? That's where these scores got bad. So these are answered on either the scale is like almost all, many, some, few, almost none. The other scale is strongly agree, agree, disagree, strongly disagree. So you'll see here that like 52% don't feel much of a responsibility to improve the school, 35% don't really support each other, 35% they don't feel they have the resources to do their jobs effectively. So some of these numbers get big. Like if you look at here, participating in decision making, 45% disagree. So that's kind of a bummer. So based off all that, here's my analysis. What am I basing my analysis and my recommendations on? Well, I looked at enrollment, I looked at demographics, student achievement, finances, and staff feedback. All of that is the data presented above. I also conducted 3 interviews. I had a phone interview with Moorpark High School's principal, Carrie Pentis. I had an in-person interview with a Moorpark High School biology and anatomy teacher, Marcel Khalil. And I had an email exchange and interview with a junior high school counselor, Betsy Davis. They were all very gracious with their time. So here is, based off of all these things, what I isolated as strengths. Moorpark Unified is really strong academically. They have a great graduation rate. Their SAT scores and their ACT scores are dramatically better than LAUSD. They are better than William S. Hart, and their CASP scores are good. They have a solid student learning environment. 94% of staff agrees that the learning environment for students is supportive. 85% agrees that they have relevant lessons. 80% agrees that they promote success for all students. Moorpark also does well with its teacher training. Their district pays for BITSA or induction. For those of you who are familiar with that, that can cost up to $5,000 in some districts. They provide that for you. Plus, it's just really helpful to get those 2 years of new teacher training. And 64% agree that Moorpark offers effective staff training. Weaknesses. If there's strengths, there has to be weaknesses. It's a shame that the staff demographics don't better reflect the student population. You have 40% white students, but almost 60% white teachers. You have almost 50% Hispanic students, but you only have 1/3% Hispanic teachers. The students would be better served if the demographics of the teachers better reflected the students. Class sizes are a huge problem, especially at Moorpark High. So their average class size is about 30 and the state is 25. You have to understand that 30 number, that factors in like special ed classes and reading intervention classes, all those classes that have like 10 or 12 kids go into that average. Miss Khalil teaches 4 science classes and they all have 40 students each in them. And she's a basketball coach too. And she told me that she has a colleague that teaches French that literally has a class with 54 students in it. They are that overcrowded. They are that really understaffed for teachers. 54 students just made my head hurt. The max at my school, and I believe statewide, is 36. And so not surprisingly, I put finances as a weakness. So their average need per student, which I was showing you earlier, it's better than LAUSD, which is a massive district. So that makes sense. LAUSD has more kids, so they're probably hurting for money. But you can't make that same comparison to the Hart District because the Hart District has 26,000 kids and Moorpark only has 6,000 kids. So why is their need bigger or worse than the Hart District? So something's going on with their finances that is a little out of whack. Another weakness that I found was school safety. This I mostly found from interviews with the 3 people. But in the survey, 27% say only some or a few adults ensure a safe environment. Miss Khalil remembers a week there was a fight every single day. She's constantly having to deal with suspended students. And then Miss Davis, the counselor at the junior high, says that in her 15 years, there's more kids joining gangs than she can ever remember. And then in my interview with Miss Pentis, she said that in 2014-15, she felt obliged to hire a full-time police officer. So how can we grow? I think AP tests should be better. It's weird that they don't have anyone scoring 5s. LAUSD is better than them. Hart is twice as good as them. I'm familiar in my district, we do after school AP intervention study sessions, and those are very effective. So I think they should do that. I think they need to look at their CASP scores. Their growth is stagnant. The 8th grade scores are below their 5th and 11th grade scores. They're just not looking good. So Mrs. Pentis is optimistic about this. She said she got Cal State staff to come to the campus and stress the importance of the test. So hopefully that pays off. Ms. Davis says they're emphasizing it in Chaparral as well. But I think the CASP scores are something that absolutely needs to be addressed. I think they need to address diverse staff hirings, hire more Hispanic, Latino, Asian staff members to fit the demographics. They need to collaborate more. Mrs. Khalil says that's her biggest sort of desire or criticism of the department. They don't work together. Principal acknowledges this. They just had WASC, if you guys know what that is. So that took up all their planning time. But I think they need to schedule specific collaboration time into their PD schedules, make sure that happens. I also think their elementary, middle school, and high schools need to talk to each other. There's no communication about curriculum. Ms. Davis should be talking to both, and they talk to none. And I think that if they do that, maybe the junior high can get better CASP scores because they're very low at the moment. And then finally, very quickly, they need to work on their finances. Based on their financial page, they shouldn't feel as underfunded as they are. Class sizes are out of control. Their science teachers don't have enough money to pay for labs. They only have 2 laptop carts for the entire high school, which is just nuts to me. Many times that's because of bloated salaries for administrators. They have niche extracurriculars. I think some hard decisions about the budget may need to happen. I think I'm about out of time, so those are my emphases, strengths, weaknesses. That is my presentation on the Moorpark Unified